This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hi, welcome to episode 198. Shit, 198.
So close.
Episode 198 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Durand.
Jocelyn, it looks like you sat up a little bit and now your head is cut off. And
Yeah, just slouch.
There's a new piece of artwork behind you there.
That's right.
A jet engine.
I was excited for the show, so I was sitting at the edge of my seat.
You get comfortable because it's not that exciting. So
Okay.
yeah.
I like it. It looks like a side or front view of that Beastie Boys album cover.
It
It's a License to Ill.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, that's the engine that my husband worked on.
That particular one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
It's just any jet engine.
Just here dropping facts that aren't true.
What is the significance of that particular engine?
So it was like it was for private jets, and it was retrofitted onto like this 1960s plane because they just needed it for testing, you know. So it was like this Rolls Royce of engines on this crappy bus plane. And
is it literally a Rolls Royce engine?
Oh, I don't know. Probably.
Because I think they make jet engines.
Yeah,
I
they
believe.
do. But and not to say that the plane was crappy. It just had no purpose other than to be, the vehicle for the engine. Anyway, and it was called like the Esprit de Corps, like the body of the spirit of life, or the spirit of, I don't know, something like that.
French.
Yeah. And every time he sees it, he gets all, sad because it went back to France. It's no longer here in Texas. It flew away at the same time Hugo was born. So it was very poetic and French,
Why is that French in general?
Well, it was just very poetic and,
okay. So, I don't know anything about that sort of thing, but that really sounds terrifying. Like putting a new jet into an old plane.
Yeah, he's I wasn't scared of flying before, but I was a little hesitant, and in the way he describes it, it makes me feel so much better about flying.
I'm not scared of flying, but dicking around with an old plane. Because that's the ones you always see, oh, look at this beautiful Memphis Belle vintage plane, and then some old man crashes it.
Well, they were all kind of the test flyers were astronauts, legitimate astronauts and stuff. So it's they all know what they're doing.
Are there French astronauts?
These were American astronauts.
Oh, they're not
I would have to look that up.
They're not men of the cosmos or whatever. I don't even know what that would be.
I don't know.
So speaking of Hugo, because you mentioned him a few minutes ago, you got a brand new book from our pal Cody. Sent you that book.
So
tell us
this
about
is
that book.
This is the second of my favorite baby books that I've received in the last 2 weeks, because I told you I got that Sesame Street one, and then Cody just went and blew that one out of the water with this one.
Yeah, Cody's like, fuck you, Elmo.
I know. What did you think when I was like, oh, look at the Sesame Street one? That's cool. Were you like, oh, just wait?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be in second place.
This one was going to be
go back on the bookshelf.
Yeah. So anyway, it's amazingly adorable.
So it's called A for Auteur.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it has a little Cinephile book.
And who is the author?
That is an excellent question.
So Jerrod, if you remember the Cinephile game that we played, the card game that we got.
Oh yeah.
So Cory Everett is his name, the guy who made the game, and he has kind of ventured off into this side thing called Lil Cinephile, which is this book, and also online they have like baby and child T-shirts that have the letters on there and have.
How weird is this? I've learned about this because of Cody, and I went and looked at the Instagram, and one of the little childs wearing the shirts is someone I know that I went to grad school with in Syracuse. So I was just
really?
What a crazy small world. Oh,
you went to school with a baby?
Yeah. That was funny. So A for PTA, obviously. I will say the only thing that I have to complain about this is that Kurosawa is not in it, because we have Kubrick at K and PTA at A.
Isn't Kubrick your favorite filmmaker?
Seven Samurai is my favorite movie, and Kubrick is my favorite director. So I'm not going to knock it for that. But I just feel like maybe if Kurosawa could be input somewhere else, like under Japanese something, I don't know.
And these are drawn in the same style as the actual game cards.
Have you been made familiar with the Cinephile game?
Jocelyn? No, well, Cody told me about it, and now it
was really fun. We played it on the show. Maybe we'll do that again sometime. That was actually pretty fun. Stanley Kubrick,
right? And then look at these illustrations. Isn't that super cool?
It's very cool. Very So Fidelio, Beethoven's Ninth.
A bit of the ultraviolence, and I see glare, slow activation, and then silence. Oh, because of HAL 9000, which is why I'm called Jocelyn 9000 on Instagram, in case you're ever wondering.
Is that what that's a reference to?
Yeah, so a little HAL 9000 reference is always nice. And let me see which other one. I really loved this Truffaut one, the illustrations on this one, because, he did the Antoine Doinel series where he followed this actor as he grew up, like before Boyhood did it, and, Truffaut did it. And so you get that represented here and here. And then that's Jules and Jem, which is another great French movie with a
we'll take your word
lead who's amazing.
we will take your word for it.
So it's about this girl, Catherine.
He looks a little like Michael Scott in that drawing.
Which, Truffaut.
Steve Martin, like a...
It's like if Michael Scott and Steve Martin had a baby.
Yeah. So Francois Truffaut, Day for Night, Love on the Run.
Yeah. But then, of course, the Godard one. There's when I got to G and it was Godard, I was just like, okay.
That's pretty awesome, but your Hugo is going to be an insufferable little twerp with this book.
What is
me as a mom? He's going to be annoying as.
He's going to be like, "Can I watch Truffaut again?"
What is Z? Really what is Z in there?
X.
I know X is Spike Lee, right?
Yeah, which is like okay. And then Z. Oh, yeah. So let me show you. Why? Oh, it's Zinman. He's he did Here to Eternity and I think High Noon.
What is who is, let's just say Jay.
Okay. I think it's Spike Jonze.
Wait,
so Edward Yang is the only one who I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know.
I'll look him up.
Yeah, I was like I'm consider myself a bit of a cinephile, Ozu. J is Jones. M is Malik. I have a friend who is like Malik obsessed, and of course he liked it.
Edward Yang is one of the leaders of the Taiwanese new wave scene and directed Yi Yi.
We'll have to look into that. Lynch.
I'm not very familiar with
Jones.
That's a pretty modern entry for the
I
rest
like
of these.
this one because it starts with an orchid thief, and that's my favorite Jones, the adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, I still love Being John Malkovich. I loved Her. I don't remember if Cody. I don't remember if you liked.
I was not a fan of Her.
I liked her
a lot.
too.
But a Spike Jonze movie I love is one that not a lot of people love, which is Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, that's right.
It's a gorgeous movie, and
Which is right there.
It's
yeah.
so well made, but it's like it's not a kids movie. It's for like 30-year-olds that think they're still children. I think it. I think
anything can be a kids movie, Jerrod.
But I mean, it's. I think it's one of James Gandolfini's best performances.
Gandolfini's
He's so great.
There's a lot of French representation because they have Agnes Varda, who just passed away in here too, under V. Oh, Scorsese, of course. You gotta have Scorsese. I love this so much. I'm just like nerding out. Almodovar, Sajid Ray.
Oh, so it goes by. Sometimes it's first name, sometimes it's last name.
They pick and choose. That's why I'm like, you could have. Oh, and then this one under you is underrated. Like you could have put Kurosawa in there.
Who's in that list?
What's the list?
Well, it looks like
it's written there, isn't it?
Yeah,
in
it is.
The text.
So Roger Corman, Corbucci, John Sayles, Suzuki, Frankenheimer,
Fulci, and
a lot of Frankenheimer and Corman I think is probably the
is that Elizabeth
one.
Taylor?
I'm surprised that they didn't go for Uwe Boll.
Oh, they couldn't know.
That's a joke. That's a joke for a certain crowd of people, I think.
Okay.
Jocelyn's not here to fuck around with your UA Bowl jokes.
Yeah,
Anyway, this is adorable, and I love it so much.
Who is the author again? I'm sorry, Cody. What's his name?
Cory Everett.
Cory Everett. Yeah, very, very fun game. The Cinephile game.
How cool is that? Especially for me because I'm more into the classics.
Dude, that kid, my goodness.
Oh man.
It's gonna be like, I want to watch a Michael Apted movie. He just passed away. Show me 14 Up.
I went to Anna Karenina's grave in Paris last year after she passed away. And I don't even think French people knew who she was, and I was being ridiculous about it. So yeah, I'm in.
We have to take a train to Anna Karenina's grave.
No, it's like one of the. It's where you can see Jim Morrison's too. So you might as well go. Jim Morrison. There was a Balzac, which is always funny. I made you laugh, Jerrod.
It's some old philosopher and Jim Morrison in the same cemetery with Anna Karenina.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna really quickly get the URL to where you can buy the book. I think it's on Amazon, but I think if you probably want to buy directly from. Yeah,
it's usually better for the artist if you buy directly from them.
Yeah, so if you go to cinephilegame.com and then go to the shop, or actually if you just go to cinephilegame.com, there's a button at the top that says a little Cinephile, and it's got the alphabet book and then all of the apparel and stuff.
And God,
they have an Instagram too that I started following, and I think at the link you can buy it.
So which letter is your favorite?
That's an excellent question that I don't think I can answer.
Okay. Well, then in that case, we'll move on. So.
No, I would say Kubrick. Definitely.
Okay.
The one that you feel like should be different is your favorite.
Yeah, the one that you wanted to be Kurosawa.
Got it.
Yeah. But I mean, if there's a second place, then it's my favorite director for sure. Especially because I wasn't allowed to watch any Kubrick movies until I was 16. My mom, would talk about.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, and so when I finally got to, I was super excited, and I don't know. I just feel like that's hilarious.
What was the first Kubrick movie you saw?
I think it was Clockwork Orange. Oh, and I read the book instead since I couldn't watch the movie. Well, that was no, that's what it was. I could watch other Kubrick movies, but I couldn't watch Clockwork Orange until I was 16.
Okay. Yeah, because there's nothing really in You
and I think I watched Dr. Strangelove, and I had seen The Shining for sure. So
just 2001, it's you got to have the drugs to understand the end, the whole Star Baby.
I heard
all those movies in 1969, like that one and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, they're beautiful movies, but there's just moments in them where you're like, this is purely filled by LSD or something.
Oh, more
what is happening
so for 2001? Absolutely,
right. But I'm thinking the bicycle scene in Butch Cassidy is there's not enough drugs now for me to understand what the hell is happening.
Why are they so happy? I heard a story recently on a podcast where someone said that he had taken LSD and went and saw 2001 at a theater, and he came out and there was a homeless person walking by, and he said, "Oh, 2001, that's the movie where we wonder if man and machine can replace woman and child." And the guys were like, holy shit, that's exactly what it's about. In one sentence he was able to describe what that movie is about.
Yeah, I mean it's truly amazing, some of the effects work in that, but at the end it's just so hard to understand.
It's the Star Child. It's
I know, but it's so esoteric and weird. I mean, don't pretend like it's straightforward.
Story. My dad is from Minnesota, Midwestern, super typical Minnesotan.
Goes to meat raffles, and
him and his parents went and saw 2001, and he said that they left the theater and everyone was just silent, so that they were just like, what the hell did we just see? They had no idea.
It reminds me of when my dad told me he watched From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, exactly.
And like had no idea about anything. He's like, it was a really good movie until there was fucking vampires. Like,
wait, do you mean vampires or literally?
From Dusk Till Dawn is literally vampires. You know what I'm talking about, right? You've seen it.
Yeah,
literally vampires. Oh yeah, I mean, fucking is the
yeah.
I get it. Not it was an adjective, not a adverb.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, all right.
So thank you. I love it.
Let's go ahead and move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have, thanks for making that loud noise.
Throwing it on the ground.
First up, we have Our Friend.
So I'm here in Fairhope, Alabama, visiting my friends and their kids. I've been reading to the kids. It's very interesting. They see these stories through like different eyes than we do. The other day I read their daughter Molly, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. You remember that one? And when I finished, she said, "That's scary, Dane." I said, "What's scary about it? Is it the 1 fish, the 2 fish, the red fish, the blue fish?" She said, "No, your lack of ambition." Thank you. It's pretty scary to come up here. I have a friend who's been wanting to try stand up, but he's never done it. He's a little chicken. So being in a rural area like Fairhope, it's tough because there's not good cell phone reception.
Put your pocket back in.
Thank you. There's not good cell phone reception, unlike New Orleans. And I got a lady back in New Orleans, and we like to keep the magic alive, so we like to have a little phone sex, if you know what I mean. And the bad service makes it a little hard because things break up in the middle of some heated moments. My girlfriend's not very good at filling in the blanks. I mean, we're grown adults. Why would I want you to play with my clock? Thank you. Thank you so much, Fairhope, Alabama.
This is a film starring, as you can see, Jason Segal there. Also, Oscar winner Casey Affleck and Dakota Johnson, based on a magazine article from 2015. Cody, tell us about Our Friend and what you thought of it.
Yeah. So was that like when you did open mics?
Dude.
Oh my God.
No, I've experimented with open mics, and they are a grim affair late in the evening. So, and if you know anything about open mics, you got to sign up, Jocelyn, and you got to sign up right away. Otherwise, you're going to be on at like 2 a.m., and that's what I would do. And like no one gives a shit after like 10 o'clock. And yeah, I mean, I've done it a couple of, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times.
Is there a video?
There is on my phone. I think.
Aww.
No, I think I deleted it. It wasn't very good. I did it in a couple times in San Antonio. I did it once in LA. I did it at the, was it UCB? Maybe it was UCB. I can't remember. I tried to go to
stand-up scene.
Well, not right now. Yeah, I mean, well, the clubs are the best club in town closed. So
right,
and then the second one went
I
down
heard
too.
Chappelle and Rogan are going to open one.
So they say.
Once they heal from COVID, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so I tried to do it at Meltdown first, but that slot got filled up, so I went to UCB. I think it was UCB. Anyway, whatever.
Anyway, yeah.
Cody.
Yes.
Our Friend.
So Our Friend is a movie that is kind of best described as a cancer drama movie. And I don't know why Jocelyn finds that so funny.
Just describing it as a cancer and then like period. Not a cancer movie, but just like it's best described as a cancer.
Yeah. Spreads. Yeah. No, well, just a movie, I think, maybe. But anyway, so it stars, and it's like 3 main actors in it with Casey Affleck, Jason Segal, and Dakota Johnson. And essentially, Casey Affleck and Dakota Johnson are a couple, and Jason Segal is a friend of theirs, and Dakota Johnson's character gets sick and is terminally ill with cancer, and Jason Segal's character moves in with them to kind of help out. And it's sort of showing them and their relationship over an extended period of time of like maybe, I mean, in the immediate like 3 or 4 years, but it goes back a little bit further when they're all introduced. I'm a little bit torn on this one because I think that the performances all around are really great in the movie. I think Casey Affleck is always really good, and he's really good in this movie. Dakota Johnson, I think, is good, and Jason Segal, I think, is also really good. Don't know that I've seen a lot of people saying it's a career best for Jason Segal. For me, that's End of the Tour. I think he's a little bit better in that movie, but this is a good second. I
really liked Into the Tour, but I do think this is a little bit better because he's inhabiting a character of his own instead of David Foster Wallace. Yeah,
that is true. So basically, he becomes like a third parent to their children, and helps serve as a go-between in this relationship. The problem with the movie is that there's two things. One, I think structurally, it was a headache. It does a lot of jumping back and forth between time periods, where it starts getting a little bit confusing at times, but also it seems a little bit unnecessary. And, you kind of, it's one of those things that really bothers me in movies that are non-linear like this, where, you'll take a couple steps forward in the narrative and then go backwards to something else that happened 4 years earlier. And you're just like, I don't need this. And it feels like there's too much going on a lot of the time. The other thing is that I think the movie is kind of punishing in the fact that it, like, almost everything that happens is overwhelmingly sad. And it has this one, like, pocket of the movie that's maybe like 15 minutes long where everything shifts with Dakota Johnson's character and she goes into like bucket list do fun stuff mode. And that is the only time I feel where the movie picks up its mood at all. And over the course of 2 hours, it's punishing. It is a lot, and it's super heavy, and I think a little bit melodramatic as a result of it. I think it's definitely designed as like a pull your heartstrings kind of movie. It's sort of like designed to make you cry and stuff. And I think that it sort of exploits that maybe a little bit too much for my taste. It doesn't shy away from some of the uglier sides of something like this, and showing the, having to break difficult news to children and stuff like that. Like it doesn't pull any punches, but it's also a bit of an exhausting watch that I've found to be a little bit too much, I think.
Jocelyn.
Yeah, I think I would describe it as a Terms of Endearment 2. It's sort of exactly the same
There was a sequel
situation.
To that already.
I know, that's what's so ironic. This is like almost like, okay, a modern telling of, Terms of Endearment. And everything Cody said, the performances are really wonderful. And Dakota Johnson, who I think I described as like an anti-actor in previous episodes. Well, not that, I don't mean that as not a compliment. I just think that she's very understated and sometimes believes, way less is much more, which is a good thing, I think. But sometimes it can feel like she's not really doing much at all. And in this film, she was like, she did a great job. And I know Casey Affleck is troublesome right now, so it's hard to compliment him, but he's just such an excellent actor. And then getting to Jason Segal, I totally agree that I think it's because this role sort of feels more what I like to see him doing, being that big teddy bear kind of character that he plays so well. That he's just a really great part of the movie. And then the whole dynamic as far as like him being kind of a third wheel friend to them, I really loved. And not only that, but to see like how he was sort of reluctant to befriend, or Casey was reluctant to befriend him at the beginning, to see how that develops. What I didn't like is where they tried to kind of show that this thing he was doing was kind of taking away from his own personal life. I feel like that was kind of like just trying to add more dimension to his character. And it was like, we didn't really need all that. Like, him having girl problems because of it and all that. It's kind of like,
well, this is based on a real person.
That's true. That's true. But
there's also the piece of like that you get this like cut scene or flashback of Jason Segal going hiking. And like you learn a little bit more about his character and where he was, and it's like, I don't think we need that. We get it. Like I get the relationship. I don't need that detour. But anyway.
I liked that section
too.
with Gwendolyn Christie,
Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked that too, but I think I agree with Cody that I didn't really understand where it fit in the narrative because it does jump around so much. But at that point, I was like, well, who cares? It's just another sort of development in this storyline. And I do believe it was a very realistic portrayal of, of someone who is terminal and cancer, which I haven't seen in a long time. I think even in terms of endearment, it was kind of not a very accurate portrayal of someone who is dying of cancer. So that was great. And then also Cherry Jones coming in at the very end. I wish there had been a little more of her because she is so amazing. And she really comes in as like this badass person in these people's lives. And there wasn't enough of that for me.
So, did either of you read the actual article this is based on?
No, as soon as it ended, I wanted to, though.
I did as soon as it ended. It's called The Friend, and it's written by Matt Teague, who is the character, that's who Casey Affleck plays. His wife is Nicole, who had ovarian cancer, and the metaphor that he uses in the movie, or that it's used in the movie, was also used in the article. The doctor said it looked like somebody took a paintbrush and splattered cancer all over her abdomen. The article is very graphic in terms of what dying meant for Nicole. Way more so than the film. Disturbingly so. And that's part of the point of it, is that it's not, that's part of the kind of thesis of this article, is that it wasn't pretty. Like, there's no one that tells you how graphic and terrible this is. Because she was getting, one of the things that really stuck with me was she had fistulas, which is like, which means it's like when there's abnormal connection between organs, and her body was rejecting food through her skin. Ugh. So she was basically, there was basically feces coming out of her skin, essentially. One thing, though, that really struck me about this movie that the article had that this didn't is the real concentration on the Dane character. Like, this movie is kind of an ensemble, the way it's structured. The article, the column, it's from Esquire magazine in 2015, written by Matt Teague. It's really about the incredible selflessness and the unspoken bond that he had with Dane. And I don't think the movie really captures that very well. Not
until the very, very end, where you get a sense of that's what the real life article is about. But I agree with you 100%.
And that's kind of disappointing to me, because I feel like, the movie is called Our Friend. And, obviously referring to Jason Segal, who I think is really, really good in this movie. I've liked Jason Segal a lot, going way back to, Freaks and Geeks, and especially stuff like Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I really like him in The Muppets. I may be a little biased, but there's a sense to me that this almost feels, I don't want to say sitcom-y, because that's not right, but in giving each person kind of an equal time as the lead in this film. And I don't think that's what the story should be. Because you get some detours with Casey Affleck's character being kind of a war correspondent, or, well, I guess he says he's acting as a war correspondent, but he's just really embedded in Iraq somewhere. Where there's a woman who tries to tempt him to cheat. That doesn't really affect anything later in the story. I did like the scene of Dane hiking, but I do think it's way too out of order for it to kind of have the impact it needed.
For sure.
Because I think you need this. I think what this movie doesn't do effectively is establish who the hell Dane is to these people, because he's just showing up at all times, and you get Go ahead.
For me, I liked that it wasn't clear. For me, it was supposed to be about his relationship with Dakota Johnson's character. And then at the end, it's sort of the reveal. And it's sort of like the reveal of the article, too, where he said, I didn't know you were writing about me. And he said, I didn't either. That was for me the ending, is that like it's the reveal that it was actually about their relation. They're now left together.
That's not the movie that's on screen, though. That's putting a lot of
But that's the
arithmetic
ending.
together.
It's like the revelation of
but the movie,
it's
as
been
I
about
said,
us the whole
the movie
time.
is literally called Our Friend.
But the article is called The Friend. So for me, it's almost like about how they don't really connect. It's always about his relationship with the wife, and then once she's gone, it's sort of like, well, now.
But it's never framed. The movie's never framed around him.
Right.
There's that, and that's the problem with it, is that if he is our main character that we're following for the most part, or we get to see him alone maybe sometimes, not in flashbacks, or see how he's handling the stressors of all of this outside of his relationship. I would agree with that, but it's not divided in that. There's just too much stuff in here. I think you can edit out a lot of like the ancillary stuff, and maybe you could have framed it that way, but the product that you get on screen, I don't think does a good enough job of that.
But there's a lot of scenes of him helping their marriage, like specifically.
But that's about the marriage. Then it's not about him; it's about the marriage at that point.
Right, it's about him as their kind of third wheel friend.
But the point really at the end of this all. And like you mentioned, the point of the article was that this guy essentially sacrificed his life as it was, not literally, but he came to his friend's assistance without question. And I don't think the movie accurately or effectively conveys that that's what this movie is supposed to be about, is this relationship between Dane and Matt, and Dane and Nicole, not Matt and Nicole, not not Dane and the kids.
Nicole.
It's Dane and the two of them, like our friend. And I don't think the movie effectively communicates that. I think it gets too bogged down in giving everyone a storyline, because in the article. And it's sad because that's what it is. The article, I mean, Nicole's just a shell,
right? Like she's beyond the point of,
it's, and that the movie sort of it devolves into that, has Dakota Johnson devolve into that, but it gives her this kind of rich backstory and little ancillary stories that don't really add up to anything.
So that's what I complained about to Cody, was when I hate that they have to do these movies where they make the person who is, eventually that is going to pass away, like this saint. And I think they didn't do that as much in this one, because she does have her faults or flaws. But I think exactly. But I think that for a large part of the movie, she is just this this saint of a person who we know is going to die, and that's to make it more impactful when she eventually passes away. And I'm like, you don't need to do that for me to feel empathy towards that character. Like I would have preferred to have maybe less of her being like this, person, and more of them together, I guess, is what you guys are also trying to.
I think the non-linear aspect of it really throws the whole thing off.
Yeah.
And I think there's no real recovering from that. Anyway, grades, Cody.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one, and I could see myself flipping back and forth on it, but because the acting is so good, the acting is the saving grace of the movie, and I think that if it's worth watching for the performances, for sure, but I just think structurally it's kind of a mess. And I think that I do think that it is just pummeling in terms of its emotional beats. And so I'm gonna have to say C+ for me. I don't think I can give it a positive review.
Jocelyn.
Yeah. What do I think about this movie? If we can not,
that's what we asked like an hour ago.
I want to ask to not have a movie where a mom or a baby dies in the next couple of weeks. That would be great, because it's definitely, if there is an audience out there for this movie, if you just want to watch something that is, terribly sad and it's going to make you cry or sob in my case. But that's not to say it wasn't bad. And I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it ended up actually being. And I'm going to give it a B.
B. I'm going to agree on the grade wise. I'm not saying it was, I didn't expect it to be bad, but I am going to give it a B. I think the performances are enough to save it, I think. And I don't think that it's a disaster, and I don't think it's structurally unsound. I think it's structurally problematic, if that makes sense. I don't know. I wish it didn't jump back and forth so much, but I think a B is fair for me. But anyway, this is available on demand, right, Cody?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
VOD.
All right. Let's move on to our next movie, In and of Itself.
Every secret has a unique weight to it, and you can only carry them for so long.
You think this is a performance. You see a man in a theater. There's an audience. It is difficult to see past what this looks like. You can see it for what it is, or you can imagine what it could be.
Before you came in here, there was a wall. Maybe you chose something you feel reflects who you really are in this world. The conceptual artist, the teacher. Someone here is an idiot. Idiot, wherever you are, please raise your hand. That's about right. I come here day after day after day and attempt to defy some odds.
This is a I don't know if I'd call it a documentary. It's kind of a filmed performance from director Frank Oz. It's Derek Del Guadio. Derek Del Guadio's In and of Itself. Derek Del Guadio's a I guess magician, monologist, performance artist, I guess you would say.
How I describe myself.
Yeah. Jocelyn, tell us about In and of Itself and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so sort of, I guess, kind of like you would say that was a cancer movie. I mean, this is a one-man show, and I think similar to a cancer movie, a one-man show has a whole lot of, I think, feelings tied up to that. Usually you hear one-man show and you think like, oh my God, I'm going to have to watch this person read their diary.
You know what? I am of the same persuasion.
Yeah.
There's so many cliches about a one-man show, and I don't think this one escapes all of them.
No, that's true. I don't.
There's a great like making fun. Do you remember that scene in The Big Sick where Kumail is doing this awful one-man show? And it's
yes.
That's such a perfect take on that. I love that so much.
Yeah, I mean, anyway.
I agree with Jerrod. I'm not comfortable saying that this kind of escapes those kind of tropes that you would expect from a one-man show, but that's not to say that it's a whole lot of fun along the way. Fun is a weird word to say also. You get this feeling that this person, when you're watching, I didn't know what I was going to watch going into it. I didn't know anything about it, which I think is kind of the fun part of it. And I kind of got the sense that there was going to be magic. Like I was like, oh, I bet there's going to be magic. There's
magic afoot.
There's magic in the air.
I sense magic.
I feel like there's some magic in the air.
Anyway.
And then he starts doing like card tricks and things like that. And it's kind of all those things in one though. It's a one-man show, it's a magic show, it's like it said in the trailer, it's all these things and more. And you know, I liked watching it. I can tell how it got so popular. There's a lot of famous people. So basically what you have is this performer who is doing these sort of tricks and monologues and stories. And he's just kind of going off script a lot and doing things that are surprising. And you know, there's a couple parts that really, I mean, they do leave you emotional almost in the way that like when David Blaine would do street magic, people would become emotional at times because it was like, how did they do this? In this case, I was left wondering like, okay, how many of these people are actors? Like I started trying to figure it out, which I think is just natural to try to figure out how he's doing these little tricks. But it was fun to watch. And I think it did a good job of what it was trying to sell itself on, as far as like this existential idea of what people identify with and what we call ourselves and how we identify as people. I really loved all of that, especially like, you know, the assigning themselves a card, and then at the end, that big kind of moment when he was able to then go down the line and recite back to the people the card that they had selected, which is like the biggest card trick, basically. And
yeah, it's like a combination. It's like benevolent hot reading,
exactly.
If you know what I mean, like the bullshit psychic stuff, but
exactly
done
and also,
benevolently.
And then when you see the famous people who are in the audience, you start understanding what this show is. For me, that's when I was like, okay, I get it now.
Tim Gunn's there. This must be good. Bill Gates.
Yeah. Well, that's when I realized, okay, this must have been a hot ticket in New York City a couple years ago that, only the very wealthy people could go to, people like Bill Gates who were in the audience. But then you start realizing that it's like a performance, that it's an art, not an exhibit, but what is it when it's
performance art?
Performance art. Thank you. And really, I think it left me happy, and I enjoyed the trip.
Cody.
Yeah. So the first thing you can say about it is that it's an extremely ambitious show, I think, because it's trying to do a number of different things. It's trying to, be entertaining first and foremost. It's semi-autobiographical, so you get a lot about Derek's life in it. It's a magic show, and then it has this thing. The theme of it, I think, is the thing that is the most important thing, because I think while people are stunned by a lot of stuff, and especially by the last act of it, it's not really the trick of it that the point is. I think it's because the movie or the show, I should say, has a lot of themes regarding how you see yourself, how other people see you, identity, and things like that. And I think that it's a really interesting exploration in the way, in particular, that he explores the way that we see ourselves and how other people see us and how we want to be seen, is done in an extremely powerful way that is magic adjacent at the end of it. Though I think that, Jocelyn was talking about how you try to figure certain things out. And I think that is the one unfair thing about trying to... I think magic is like the one piece of art where you're sitting there and instantly like, that's bullshit. Like it's the one piece of art you're like automatically and instantaneously skeptical about. And so you kind of, it's hard not to do that while you're watching it. Like clearly there's some kind of intense memorization tool going on, or, a lot of different things that are happening. There's a lot of stuff that's clearly set up ahead of time. There's no other possible way for it to happen. But it's not the point, because it's the execution of it. And I think that there's a way to watch this movie and really get a lot out of it, because for me, it's not so much an experience of like watching the show. So to me, this is not anywhere close to being in the audience and watching the show, because I think this is a certain performance and capturing of a performance where, like, if you were in that room, it would have been an insane emotional roller coaster. So I think as a documentary about a performance and watching sort of vicariously through the audience there, I think you can get a lot out of it. I think it can be really, really powerful, because you're experiencing these people having this kind of shared collective experience that's like really emotionally intense, but also the sort of sense of wonder that goes along with it. So I don't think it's a good replication of probably what that show is, but as a vicarious experience of watching the audience encounter the show, I think that it gets really interesting. And I think some of the autobiographical pieces don't fit exactly well. I think the one-man showery of that piece, I think, is a little bit less effective than some of the stuff. But like, I think like the sleight of hand the segment is great. I think that the ending segment is great. I think it's really entertaining and really powerful. It just, your mileage on it is going to depend on A, if you can let go of trying to figure it out, and B, if you can sort of experience it through the eyes of the audience that's there on screen.
So what sort of I know, Cody, you and I a few years ago saw a Penn and Teller show together. Mm-hmm. What sort of magic are either of you fans of?
I really like sleight of hand card stuff. I find that super entertaining. Like David Blaine Street Magician shit. I love. I could watch that all day.
I mean, clearly he's dealing. He's obviously dealing from the bottom of the deck. There used to be. Do you remember this, Jocelyn? At Fiesta, Texas, there used to be the guy that would do card tricks at there was like a riverboat gambler restaurant, and there was this guy, Richard something. He's been on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. He's like legally blind, and he does these amazing card tricks.
Is that the guy who there's a documentary made about him?
Oh
recently?
yeah. I can't remember his name, but he was on. He used to be he lives in San Antonio, or did. He would do these just amazing things, and it was all like. It's all just sleight of hand. It's all just, knowing how the cards feel. And, clearly that's what's going on here. Clearly that's what's happening with the, the end segment that's so powerful. This thing, if you can break free of the one-man show trappings of it, which, I'm not the hugest fan of the one-man show aspect of it. The kind of stuttering step of, talking
very
about something
rehearsed too,
right? Yeah, but once you get past that, this thing was fucking captivating to me.
Yeah.
And I did not expect the emotional ride that this took me on. Like, it's really good. This is a really good. I mean, I can only imagine how powerful it would have been to be there to see that. Because at no point do I look. I'm not the kind of person that is I enjoy watching the sleight of hand. One of my favorite things is this kind of benevolent use of these things that are used to fool people. Like I mentioned, the hot reading, which is clearly what he's doing, or apparently what he's doing for the audience to know who is who, in what particular order. And then the sleight of hand. It reminds me of, there used to be some Penn and Teller shows where they would show how they did the trick. There was one of those like boxes where they cut people up, and they would do the trick normally, and they would bring out like an entirely clear set of boxes and show you exactly how they did it. And it's just like people sliding around. And it did they do this at the show, Cody? Do you remember where they Penn and Teller show where they ended up having like someone's phone in a fish?
I think so.
So they do this. They bring someone from the audience to be part of this trick, and their cell phone ends up in a fish in the audience, like a dead fish, like frozen under a seat. Anyway, and then they've recorded the whole thing on the person's cell phone.
Yep, they definitely did this. I remember that now.
Yeah, so they're like, now you can watch this if you want to see how we did it, but you can just enjoy the trick. And I think that's what this thing is. Like, he's clearly dealing from the bottom of the deck and knows exactly where the cards are. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I mean, it's just stuff like that I think is a very powerful way of storytelling that I wasn't expecting from something like this. I mean, just the idea that he's making these deep emotional connections, and it's not. Again, it's not malevolent like this psychic bullshit you see, what I'm talking about. The like, is there a J name here? Well, my dad's name was Jeff, but with a G. Like,
right, where they're fishing.
Yeah, it's essentially that, but done in a positive way. And man, it was really good. I was blown away by how much I loved this.
Yeah, and I think that the thing about that final trick, and I'll keep stressing this, is that it's such a brilliant way to execute a trick like that, because it's done in a way that I don't know that I've ever seen before, where someone
so deeply personal.
Yeah, and so while it's super impressive and crazy and shocking to watch and stuff, there's like this added layer of like personal connection where he personally connects with hundreds of people at a time and like you can see.
Yeah.
Like most of the audience is in tears by the end of the show, and that's not an exaggeration whatsoever.
And we haven't even touched on that, but he's extremely charismatic. Like even the one-man performance is delivered in a way that is so compelling and charismatic, and you can tell how like each word he has chosen so carefully and considered everything and the timing of it all. We haven't even talked about how just charismatic of a performer he is. And how, I don't know, it's just almost like he has so much control over the entire situation that you're just like, what?
Well, I mean, it is a hell of a show.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's not really anything other to, I mean, it is a well executed show. And I just think I was blown away by how much I enjoyed this. Anyway, grades, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I think when I read the description and it's so, heady, it's like, it's like existential. What do you think you are, and and you're like, what am I gonna watch? And then you see it and you can see why that is the description, because it's like hard to really describe or explain what this is about and what it's going to be like. But it's super fun to watch and it's a great ride. And as far as like a movie goes, I don't know. I would have much rather preferred, of course, to be in the audience. But since that isn't a possibility, it's a movie of a great live performance.
It's a film performance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't get any
documentary is a stretch to me, because I think it's more of a filmed performance. It's like watching Hamilton.
It would have been kind of cool if he had done something to trick the audience at home, or to do a wink to the people who are watching it recorded, because it feels like it's just, of course, for the live.
I found a brick outside.
A gold brick in your driveway.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that said, that doesn't take away from it at all. It's still great. I think I'm going to do a B+.
Cody.
Yeah, I'm much on the same side here. I think that it does get a little bit bogged down with some of the one-man show and some of the personal stuff. I also think it's again, you have to get out of the mindset of trying to figure out how he's doing this, but he's not doing it under the guise of like crazy showmanship, and I think that's what saves it, right? So when sometimes when you see something like this and a magician will kind of like put their arms up and ta-da and stuff. It can be a little bit obnoxious.
Where are you watching magic at?
I'm like David Copperfield bullshit. So the theatrics of it all, right? And it's not theatrical at all. And in fact, the performer has moved himself multiple times during the show. So it's this crazy personal shared experience that I find fascinating that they were able to catch on film. So I'm also giving it a B+.
I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to give it an A-. This was really, really entertaining to me. And it was something that once I got into it, like it just flew by, and it was an incredible ride that I was not expecting. So this is available now on Hulu, and I personally highly recommend it. But okay, let's move on to our last movie, PG Psycho Goreman.
Many moons ago, a nameless evil was imprisoned in a place far beyond reach.
Hurry up!
If he were ever to be released, it would spell certain doom for all existence.
Is that fear I smell? Your planet will be torn to pieces, and I will treat your angry screams as I rip.
Is this yours? B?
Oh my god.
The gem of Paraxidike. Whoever wields it is able to command me.
Go over there and wait for us to come back in the morning.
You will suffer an eternity for this.
Bye! Mom, Dad, I want you to meet Psycho Goreman, or PG for short.
I will bathe in your blood.
Don't worry.
Be worried.
This is another Shudder film. This is probably the goofiest of the Shudder films we've seen this past year.
Yeah.
Cody, tell us about PG Psycho Goreman and what you thought of it.
Yeah, so this was originally slated to be a midnight movie at last year's South by Southwest festival that was canceled, and would have probably fit in really well at Fantastic Fest, much like a movie that we talked about last week. bloody hell. But this is it's there's not a super heavy plot going on here, other than you have this brother and sister who find like a little stone buried, and it ends up unearthing Psycho Goreman, who's an alien who's been buried, and he's like the most violent killing machine possible, and basically the stone that the girl has can control him, so she can make him do whatever they want, and then eventually he becomes part of the family in a strange way. And look, so here's the thing about Psycho Goreman is that I think that it doesn't completely work, because I think that it is, some of the stuff is clearly very over the top, as you can see there. It gets a lot of comparisons to like Power Rangers, and I think that's appropriate in its design, but not so much the execution of the actual like tone of the movie. Because I saw like someone say it's a cross between Trauma and Power Rangers, and I think that that's somewhat appropriate. And I there's so much about it that I enjoy, because I think look, this movie is goofy as shit. Like, it's really goofy. It's really dumb. It does not take itself even a little bit seriously. And because of that, I think it's a lot of fun at times. And I think every few minutes there's something that made me laugh out loud. I think the movie's really funny. Like there's a scene with Psycho Goreman looking at hunky boys that I found very funny. There's some funny, so there's a lot of like puppet characters, like puppet aliens and stuff. And they're all like physical, practical effects. Yeah, it's very practical effects heavy. Like there's one scene where where one of the puppets just like opens its jaw at a moment. There's a scene where Psycho Goreman is insulted and just explodes a child. It's really funny.
One of my favorite jokes was when the kids are communicating with Morse code, and the girl says, "I told you, Grandma's in hell forever." Grandma's in hell forever.
Dude, I laughed so hard at that. Like there's like every few minutes it's like pretty steady, something really funny. And if you're a fan of like that over the top graphic violence, there's a lot of very graphically violent stuff, a lot of heads that come out, a lot of melting faces and stuff. So it's got this like, it almost feels like a kid's movie at times, but then it's met with like uber ultra violence. I also think the character who plays the dad is really funny as well. There's a moment where he like, it has to do with he like cooked for his family and like a single tear runs down his face, if you remember that scene. I think the stuff that doesn't work is that I think that the kids, especially the little girl, it's not entirely her fault, but I think the kid is just written kind of really obnoxiously, and it's very over the top and quite annoying at times. If the kid had been more subdued, I think you'd have a more successful thing. But I think like I like the practical effects of it, and when there is green screen, I think it looks like intentionally shitty bad. And I love the part that it doesn't take itself seriously when like, you know, Psycho Goreman tries to go on like these long speeches about his past and his history, and then the kids are always completely uninterested by it. And I also found it really funny that the kids are totally unfazed by just the most gruesome violence that's happening in front of them.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later.
But yeah, I mean, look, it's not a perfect movie by any stretch. And you have to be willing to watch something that's extremely stupid. But if you're down for that, I had a good time, and I thought it was, like I said, I think it's actually pretty damn funny as well.
Jocelyn, what about you?
I was laughing at Cody's description because I had been like practicing in my head how I was going to explain this movie this week, because it's pretty crazy. And, you know, this murderous monster, I think, is the best way to describe who Psycho Goreman is. And
I think the best example, he's kind of like a really murderous Thanos.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. Yeah, like in his world, he is, you know, this
like he's the ultimate
villain.
Doombringer. Yeah,
and it's kind of, that's what I loved about, that's what the part of this movie that I really loved is like almost like those throwback to those 80 movies of like Drop Dead Fred, where it's like these kids have this friend who just happens to be like this horribly grotesque monster who like murders everyone. And I started the movie and I really loved the little girl, and I loved their Morse code connection, like where they're talking to each other. There's things like that where I'm just like, this reminds me of childhood, you know? And I feel like, well, I mean, you know, just like having a sibling and that kind of relationship. And I will say that I think it lost me completely when it went to like the Monster Council in outer space, and
Whoa,
right?
Sorry.
Ooh, that was weird.
That was weird. Sorry.
And any of his backstory when he was on his like alien planet, whatever, like I was completely like uninterested by all of that. And I totally saw the Power Ranger sort of reference where it's like almost like their mouths are not lining up with the speaking because it's these Muppets or these puppets. What are you practical?
I'm gonna throw you out.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, they're literally puppets. Like I think the funniest one is like looks like the Mars Attack alien, like in a brain in a jar.
Yeah. I didn't find any of that funny. I really did find Psycho Goreman funny though. Like all of his little asides about murdering people when the kids were like, "Shut up, Psycho Goreman." You know, I thought that was hysterical, and I loved the family dynamic. Like Cody said, the dad I thought was really funny, and the mom. I loved their relationship, and I loved the kids. I think the little girl was also really good, but I just wish they had really kind of brought that character down a lot. I don't think necessarily like make her like less, more restrained, because I liked how kind of just balls out crazy she was, but just less often, because she became a real large part of the movie. And that to me was not a good decision. And then what else did I want to say about it? Oh, the violence. I was not a fan of the violence. There's this surprise. There's this scene with this police officer, and I found it totally unfunny and really dark and sad and scary.
But you're watching crap like A Clockwork Orange at 16.
Here's the thing: is that
like that's like a gang of hoodlums. This was like them laughing at this poor man who had been melted and is just kind of like weekend of burning around.
But then. The reveal of the heart-shaped Valentine that says "Please kill me" written in blood.
It's sort of like the beginning where there's that one character who he has like his eyes are like spinning for eternity, like he's continually, and then he finally dies, and he's like, "Thank you." So I get that is, but it's so dark and scary to me. I did not like that.
So, the Power Rangers thing, I get why people are saying that. It's not really a Power Rangers analog, I don't think. I don't think there's a kind of, one-to-one thing here. Other than that it's practical effects and it looks kind of dumpy. My major problem with this thing is the character of the little girl. It doesn't. So I get the idea of this. This joke has been done before, of the malevolent force that no one takes seriously, and kind of gets dismissed. I don't think this movie ever strikes the right tone, though, to where that's believable in a certain, in this world that's been established. Because I like, everyone is very blasé and, sort of fine with this. And that's really hard to pull off in live action. You get that stuff, like, in a way, it kind of reminded me of a Family Guy, in that it has these, like, intense bursts of violence and absurdity that would be horrifying in real life. And I don't think the movie ever really strikes a tone that makes that stuff successfully integrated into this story. Because I do agree there is funny stuff, and there is some stuff that's really outrageous and fun, but I don't think it all holds together as well. I was telling Cody this, and I know Cody disagrees. It kind of feels more of a concept than an actual story. Like, it feels like a music video or something, like, writ large. And this idea that,
I think that's part of the joke, in my opinion, because I think part of the joke is that he keeps on trying to give the lore of everything, and they're just completely disinterested with it.
But they're not disinterested in a way that's real, though. They're disinterested in a very, very broad comedic way, and I don't think that's effective, because you've got like two sides. Like, you need you got to have the straight man, I think, in this, because you've got this he's essentially like a heavy metal album come to life.
He's like a Gwar character.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, and he's from the planet Gygax. I get it. Gary Gygax, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's like the tormentor of Baphomet, all kinds of crap like that. And you've got these people blowing him off in a way that doesn't, like, it's also absurd. And I don't know that really meshes together very well. I don't know. It's just something about this just rubbed me the wrong way. And I don't think it all comes together. And I think the little girl's character is dialed up way too high. Way too high. And I think if she was a little less obviously psychopathic or whatever her ailment might be, it would be a little more fun. But as it stands now, I don't think it works. I don't think it comes together in a way that properly joins this concept all together in a way that's satisfying. Because I will, the cop thing is that the joke about the heart that says "please kill me," that's fucking hilarious. But the payoff of it is weird because the little girl is not horrified at all. She's gleefully, like, she's psychopathically telling him, like, not to write love notes to her. I mean, it's a weird thing. And I mean, it's a, I don't want to go ahead.
Like, its heart is in the wrong place. Not to use.
I don't know that. I just think it thinks the joke is funnier than it is at a certain point.
I see.
And I think it's very, very unique. It's very of itself. Like this is clearly exactly what they wanted to make. But I think that the joke of the little girl and everybody kind of being a blasé, sociopath to some extent, where they don't give a shit about anything except for the brother. I think that is. I just don't think that works. I don't know. There's something about it that rubs me the entirely wrong way that makes this thing not hold together. Even though I loved the creature design, I loved the puppet stuff, I loved the over the top violence. I just think that the bones of it aren't hearty enough.
Really, that fight in the woods, y'all liked that?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's funny.
I mean, that's the thing about it. So this is the reason why it wins for me is that it's not a great movie by any stretch, but like I was laughing for most of it. Like I think it's a legitimately funny movie and I enjoyed that. So while it's not executionally speaking the perfect thing, it checks a lot of boxes in terms of, like, again, the violence and the humor I think are mostly successful.
Here's my best comparison. Did you ever see Black Dynamite?
I did not see it.
Killer trailer. I think the joke really runs its course in the course of that trailer. And I think this feels like something similar. Like it's a killer like trailer kind of set in this mood. Like it's not a parody. It's like a Weird Al Yankovic song that's not a direct parody. Like it's in the style of something and it's meant to be tongue in cheek. But I don't think I don't think it's good enough to stretch to a full-length film, if that makes sense. Anyway, grades, Cody.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's problematic at pieces. I think the kid's annoying, and the narrative is nothing to speak of. But that being said, I think it's extremely entertaining. I think it's very funny, and I think it's a unique, for better or worse, it's like you said, Jerrod, it's a unique vision that they clearly made exactly the movie they wanted to make. So because of that, and because I enjoyed the experience of it, I'm giving it a B-.
Jocelyn, I'm sorry it was very violent for you.
I don't like that, like, dark violence where it's like...
But you love Tarantino, right?
Again, I don't understand this. Yeah, Tarantino...
Tarantino
Kubrick.
doesn't have people's like faces melting.
Are you kidding me? They were all burned to death at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Inglourious Basterds. I was like, they were Nazis. The bad
Yeah.
guy gets its comeuppance
I
in
know,
Tarantino
but-
movies.
Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. It's like it's supposed to be cartoonish, I think, and it was just too dark. I don't know how to explain it, but it just was too grotesque. And I feel like for every step forward it made, when I'd be like, I like this, it would take 2 steps back, and I'd be like, damn it. So I'm gonna give it a C.
Did was it Chris Tucker? Who was it that got shot in Pulp Fiction accidentally?
See, and that's the thing.
that
It's
was
not-
Phil Lamar.
Phil Lamar, sorry. Yeah.
I'm not against violence in movies. It's always difficult to explain, but it has
But that
to be
person
done
wasn't.
in
He
a
wasn't
way-
a bad. He wasn't.
It has
wasn't
to
a,
be
that
done
was
in a way that
that was entirely comical. That was entirely comical.
Your screen is shaking. You're so angry.
I'm hitting the desk. That was entirely comical. Anyway,
in Psycho Goreman.
no, in Pulp Fiction when Phil Lamar gets
right.
his
Yeah, in the back
brains
of the
blown
street.
out in the car. Yeah.
No, it was used, but you don't see it. You know, it's
Are you
like
kidding
done
me?
I mean, the camera goes from behind. Like here, you're just like watching like blood and guts, and it's just like it reminded me of like a B movie, which isn't bad. Like y'all said, Fantastic Fest, like a late, South by would have been excellent for this. But like I said, every positive that it would take, I would have like 2 strikes against it. So it didn't even out for me.
What was your grade? I'm sorry.
A C.
C. I'm gonna give it a C plus. I just can't recommend it. It's just it didn't quite come together for me, and I laid that all out. So C plus. This is available on demand, or is this a Shudder?
It's not on Shudder quite yet, but it
Okay.
probably will be shortly. But it's
Yeah.
VOD for now.
Okay. Well, that's gonna do it for this week. What do we got next week, Cody?
Well, next week we might be taking off. I have Sundance next week, so
Oh yeah.
Ooh, Cody
Yeah.
has a big interview.
He's up there with Robert Redford and Harvey Weinstein and.
Oh no!
Oh wait, never mind.
No, be careful.
Do you think
Cody.
Bob Weinstein still goes? He's like,
So-
hey guys.
yeah.
Well, he was.
me.
They have that video of him at a club in New York, and people were like, "Why are you here?" Like yelling at him.
Well, he didn't do anything, did he?
Oh, I thought you were talking about
I'm
Harvey.
talking about Bob Weinstein.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said Harvey.
But yeah, I we'll see. We may, because there's a couple of things coming out that are interesting, but there's like the little things.
We can take the week off.
but we might take it off because
Let's just take the week off.
Yeah,
let's
let's
decide.
take the
Let's
week
decide
off.
right now. We're gonna take
All
the week
right.
off.
So I'll be sundancing.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, and you got a big interview. Looking forward to that, huh?
Yeah, I'm interviewing Edgar Wright on Thursday. So
You should mention that you and I are in that picture of him on Twitter or Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it was.
yeah,
Where you can
Baby
see me,
Driver.
like-
Y'all are like photobombing him.
no, we're in the audience when he's
Ah.
introducing Baby Driver.
Oh, that's cool.
It's Doug Benson, Scott Aukerman, then me, then Cody, then Kiko. Yeah. Edgar Wright is very short, by the way.
Is he?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. You didn't remember how short he was?
No.
I'm gonna photo-
Everyone's tall to me, so it's.
Oh, that's right. You might
I know.
be eye to
That's
eye.
what I'm 5'1.5", and I always say that when someone's like, "Oh, they're very tall," I'm like, "Everyone's tall."
You're 5'1"?
and a half.
It's been a long time since
And
I've seen
a
you in
half.
person. So
Yeah, 5'2" with heels on. But I'll Photoshop myself into that photo.
Okay.
So send it to me so I can be included.
I don't have it. I have to find it on. Go back to 2017.
I'll find it.
March of 2017, I
Don't
guess.
you worry, I'll find it.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. You can find us on Twitter at CineSnob, Facebook, CineSnobNet. We're on YouTube as well. I haven't gotten to set up the vanity URL, so, search for
Just
it.
find it, yeah.
Yeah.
We got other podcasts, whatever. We haven't updated them in a while.
Jesus.
Core and Stream. May it rest in peace. Re-MCU. We need to record some of those again soon, Cody.
Yeah, we do.
Cody, you've got the Ramble.
Yeah, Ramble Radio Tuesdays, Fridays. Good Willow Hunting on Thursdays. This past week we switched up. We were supposed to do Vacation. Vacation's going to be this week. Last week was Uncle Buck.
Oh, you had never seen Uncle Buck?
No, I had not.
Oh my God. And did you hate it?
I thought it was okay. It's my least
Okay.
favorite John Hughes movie, I think, that I've seen.
What about John Candy movies?
It doesn't touch like Planes, Trains, and
Planes, Trains, and
Automobiles.
Automobiles, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Didn't they remake? Wasn't there a TV series of Uncle Buck recently? I think with Mike Epps.
I love when he's making the pancakes and he's using the snow shovel to flip them.
Man, I don't remember much about Uncle Buck at all.
Really? Oh my god, I remember so much about it.
Except him telling the principal to like have a rat chew that thing off her face or whatever.
I even when that guy is like turning the toothpick in his mouth, her boyfriend.
Man, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? Cody, do you? You just saw it.
Yes.
remember her? What is her boyfriend's name? Like Snake or something?
Oh God, what was it?
And Uncle Buck, of course, hates him.
I don't think it was Snake. Was it Snake? It's something like that. Something weird like that.
That was one of my favorites.
It's let's see. It's Bug.
Oh, Bug. That's right.
Snake.
I was close.
Macaulay Culkin, Gabby Hoffman. Wow.
Yeah.
It's great movie.
Anyway, yeah, Jocelyn, you're gonna keep reading that book to your son, and he's gonna get insufferable. So
I haven't even showed it to him yet. I need to, but
would he know? Would he know the difference?
No, not yet.
How old is he now?
4 months.
Golly.
Yeah. So.
Is he walking yet? I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he's driving. We took him to get his license the other day. So.
Does he have a lot of hair?
Baby driver.
Ha!
I'll throw you out again. Does he have a lot of hair?
No, it's blonde too, so it's kind of hard to see. So he looks very bald. He looks like a little old man, a little bit, you know.
Oh,
yeah,
good. That's
cute.
the way.
Exactly.
I guess. It's interesting. All right. Anything else before we go?
I don't think so.
Okay. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Durand.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.